Welcome everyone to another live edition of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell, as always, and we're here tonight to get you prepared for the Carolina Panthers visiting the Big Crab Cake, coming to the bank to take on your Baltimore Ravens. So we're going to get into all things involving that matchup. Really excited to do so. But before we do, take a second, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell so we can keep you up to date on all your Ravens news. Before we get too deep into this, I just want to start off by bringing Laura's comment up here. She says, hey, guys, wondering what your thoughts are on getting through the rest of the year, but keeping the intensity where it needs to be going into the playoffs. Jimmy, you kind of talked about this off air. The schedule seems to be in the favor of the Ravens in the second half of the season, and I think it has you and some others concerned that maybe the Ravens won't be at their sharpest heading into the playoffs. Do you think this is this something that, Ravens coaches should be aware of and kind of maybe build in some atmosphere in practice or something to heighten it?
Yeah. So this is an interesting one that I struggle with because, Laura, to your point, like, I think for us as fans, it's easy to say, oh, this is a win. This is a win. This is a win. But at the same time, all these players are so good. These coaches put in so much time. And it's really every given Sunday. That said, I also understand your point, right? So this is a concern of mine. And I'd like to do some in-depth look into the Super Bowl winners and what the strength of their schedule was like going into that. So I think what we'll end up doing, Laura, is we'll put a video out on that for sure once we do some research. But just from an initial perspective, yeah, it's a concern of mine because I think you want, at least for me, I want to beat the best going into the playoffs. That way, any situation you're up against, you've already faced it, you've already been there, you've already experienced it, right? So, I think it's a legitimate concern. I think the coaches will do what they can. We have an experienced coaching staff, so that'll help. It's not like we have a first-year coach by any stretch of the imagination. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think the intensity on game day or the preparation will sacrifice, but I do think that just not being in moments where you're playing against incredibly, well put together and well coached teams like a Chiefs team, amongst others, could come back to bite us in the butt. I hope it's not the case, but certainly it's top of mind for me.
Yeah, and I think what I would say is, given the option, given how competitive the AFC is this year, I'll take the lighter schedule in hopes that it'll be easier to get into the playoffs.
That's a good point.
We'll kind of take it from there because they do have a final week matchup at the Bengals, which I think will certainly kind of have that playoff atmosphere if both teams are fighting for position, which I think we all expect them to be. But thanks for the question, Laura. But yeah, like Jimmy said, we're going to certainly do a more in-depth video. What's going on, Lisa Ann?
And it's been a while, Glenn, right? It's been what, 2 weeks since we've done a live?
Man, has it been that long?
I think so. So make sure you guys go check out the videos, of course, that we've put up. And we're
everyone's jumping on that the run game thing. Like it is really taking off here, Jimbo. But check out our episode on Are the Ravens the new kind of trend-setting offense in the league, as we see a bunch of copycats going around and the run game being more prevalent than ever. What's going on, Michael? What's going on, Jimmy? Hey, Devon.
When Dan Orlovsky likes your tweet, right? DK got Dan Orlovsky to like the tweet talking about that show. I think you're doing something right.
That's right, man. Hopefully we'll have Dan on the show in the not too distant future. But I don't know. We have to compete with Get Up and Greeny, which I think if put into a death match, you and Greeny, dude, you got him, dude.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
You would destroy Greeny, bro.
If it was a fight to see who has Orlovsky on the show.
Yes.
Oh,
we're having him, right? He's on.
Absolutely not a chance. I would walk out of there with Greeny's head on a stick and just blood coming out of my mouth.
I can see Golick behind you cheering you on now. Just
now, what if we had to put you in there with Goose, dude?
No. Come on, dude. Any of those guys on Get Up, Booger, no. Any Ninkovich, no, they're all destroyed.
What about Shefty? Are you taking Shefty down?
Dude.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Did you see the dance, dude?
Dude, Shefty's in big trouble if he jumps in the ring.
I could just see you doing this, like palming the top of his head, and he's like doing one of these.
Exactly. Now I know he's got grown man strength, but I just don't think he's built for it. But all right, so Let's get into some of our preparation for this Carolina game because I'm like you, Jimbo. I get that the Ravens are massive favorites. I think last I looked, they were 12.5-point favorites according to Vegas. And, it's a 3-6 team taking on a 6-3 team. But I will say that the Carolina Panthers still have some pretty decent wins under their belt, including their last game where they dominated the Atlanta Falcons 25-10. And then, not too far before that, they absolutely destroyed the Tampa Bay Bucks led by Tom Brady 21-3 in the week before the Ravens played them, in fact. So, and they beat New Orleans. They beat New Orleans also early in the year. So this is a team that if you take them lightly, they will punch you in the mouth and sneak out of there with a win. So I'm excited to kind of get into let's see, where are we going to start with their offense? So we're going to start talking about their offense and dive into it.
Yeah, and one thing I think we should probably do, Glenn, before we dig into their offense is talk about injuries.
Oh, true. Yeah, I'm going to skip over the injury report.
Yeah, but the one thing, just feeding off that before we go back to the injuries, is I don't know if any of you have seen this, and I don't know if you have, Glenn. Do you know the percentage that, according to analytics, that the Panthers have to win this game?
Oh, boy. Well, if we're 12.5-point favorites, I'm going to guess 83% chance the Ravens win, 17 for the Panthers. Is that
very close?
Really?
85% chance the Ravens win.
Yeah, I knew it would be dominant with a 12.5-point spread is pretty
14.7% chance. But I'm excited to talk about this because familiar face under center.
Yeah.
One of my favorite punching bags, and that is Baker Mayfield.
Not only under center, but at center in Bradley Bozeman.
That's right. So a lot to talk about, a lot of familiarity here. But let's start with injuries because I think there are some question marks going into this game, certainly for the Ravens.
Absolutely. And there was a lot of kind of mystery surrounding the injury report, certainly yesterday and even some part of today, because the Ravens are being a little slick in how they're they only have the first 30 minutes of their practice open for the media to observe. So the media didn't get to see Mark Andrews yesterday, and so the reports were that he was not at practice. But then John Harbaugh it was asked in his presser afterwards about an update on Mark, and he said, well, you guys didn't see him. He warmed up a little bit longer, but did get out there for, I think, 4 of the practice session, however they divided up. But he just needed a little more time warming up. Same thing today. So he did practice Wednesday, did practice today, Thursday, in a limited role, but was not out there during the portion in which it was available for the media to view. So
now, what about for the folks that don't know? What are we hearing about Kohler?
Yeah, so Charlie Kohler, I think him and David Ajabo are kind of in a similar boat in that at least they're being talked about as if they're physically ready to go, and that's why they're back at practice and performing. But these are both rookies who had no training camp, had no preseason, had really no practice to this point in the season. So I think they just got to kind of get over that learning curve. But as far as their physical ability, they're back to virtually 100% and ready to go out there. And the good thing is, like you've mentioned before, David Ajabo knows this playbook. This isn't going to be something. And I'm sure Charlie does as well because he's been in meetings, but David Ajabo has actually played in this defense. So you wouldn't think the learning curve is too steep, but these guys still got to get themselves to football shape and get themselves acclimated with the teammates around them.
And imagine, everyone talks about how difficult of a jump it is to go from college to NFL. And, he's not even he's similar to Odafe Owe in that he hasn't been playing football for a crazy amount of time, right? I think a little bit longer than Odafe in high school. Yeah. But still, it wasn't like, he was born and bred into football. Now he's jumping from college, like you said, no training camp. He's jumping off the deep end. That first snap, I don't guess, is going to be the prettiest.
Right. And you'd like to limit, maybe you bring him in his first action in a similar role that we see like Justin Houston, where he's playing 16, 18 snaps a game in a pass rush role. But at the same time, you don't want to have a guy taking up an active roster spot that's not getting the snap count to help the team. So you only have, I think, 46 active roster spots during game week. So you got to make sure you take advantage of it. And if the guy's not ready to perform a full workload, then I wouldn't want to put him out there until he's ready, especially when you consider the depth at tight end right now.
Yeah, and the one thing, this is the last thing I'll say about Ajabo. The one thing to keep in mind, he's still only 8 months out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's still, I don't think there's any need to push it if he
Especially when
doesn't.
you look at the pass rush and how well they've been playing lately.
Right. And JPP's good to go as far as I
Yep.
understand.
Yep.
So, obviously that'll be a big. And then Tyus is another week or 2 weeks now
Yeah.
removed from the first game that he's come back and played. So, yeah. What other injury reports you got for us?
Yeah, Gus Edwards still limited in his participation in practice as he comes back from the hamstring injury. And then also Jalen Armour Davis, limited Wednesday, did not participate Thursday. So interesting to see, what's going on there. Not sure what impact he would have, even if he was a full
Special
participant.
teams.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, his role on defense has been cut massively, even when healthy. So not sure. And let's be honest, the team they're playing against isn't necessarily a, spread you out 5 wide and sling the ball around. This is more of a run first physical team. So I'd be surprised to see if Jalen was out there. But I'm interested in this, if Mark Andrews and Gus Edwards, Jimmo, if they're at all like, if there's anything that might be concerning at all, do you let these guys sit another week knowing the quality of opponent?
Yeah, so I'm going to say this now. I think they both sit.
Okay.
I think they both sit. And I don't think it's that the team, maybe some of it is that you take the Panthers are what they are. But I don't think it's as much of that as it is. This is an NFC team, which if you look at the schedule, I know every game matters, right? But in the standings, ultimately, if it comes down to a stupid, tie,
yeah.
right? This matters less
than
an AFC team. Obviously not a divisional game. So at the end of the day, if somehow we take a loss here, it's not like losing to the Bengals or the Browns or even the Chiefs or the Bills or something like that. Really, it would have the least amount of impact on us. So I think they both sit one more week, in my opinion. I wouldn't expect either of them to be out there.
Okay. All right. Well, man, I think if I had to pick one, I'd say, let's let Gus sit. If Mark feels like he's ready to go, then I would feel comfortable with Mark going.
Those long warm-ups worry me, though. I'm honestly, I know the shoulder's a thing for Mark, but I'm worried about that. He had the knee first.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm sure that's what's taking time to warm up, not the shoulder.
Right. That's what's got me concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with both of them sitting. They dominated the Saints last time we saw them, and if they can dominate.
Go ahead.
I'll say if they can dominate the Saints without them, then I have no reason to believe they can't do the same against Panthers.
And really quickly, we've been talking about the tight end room. Did you hear Roman talking about Oliver?
Yeah, man, that was so. I mean, it's just so cool when you hear about a guy who isn't guaranteed. So if you guys didn't hear, Greg Roman was asked about the jump that
Josh Oliver
made this offseason, and he was, you could tell that he was hyped to even be asked about him and hyped to answer, because he basically said, look, Oliver was certainly not penned in on this roster, and he probably wasn't even penciled in on this roster when training camp started. It's a very deep room. He said, but he basically won a job in training camp. He's one of those guys where you hear about the stories. You can most of the time, it's tough to win a job. You can lose a job easier than you can win a job in a tightly contested, room, especially when you have recent draft picks added to that room, two of which in this case. So he talked about how he won the job. He said he's made better improvements as a blocker in 1 year's time than any player he's ever seen in his career.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's so cool to see. And you can tell the kid's been taking it serious because, he basically ended Nick Boyle's tenure here.
Yes.
I mean, just over, right? He's still here because contractually it makes no sense for us to get rid of him. But that's it. That's why Nick Boyle is now a special teamer.
Yeah, he does nothing better than Oliver, because before it was like, well, he's this fantastic blocker, but now Oliver's developed into an incredible blocker, plus the athleticism that he brings as a pass catcher. So hype for Josh Oliver. Congratulations.
You love those stories, right? I
mean, those are the best ones. I mean, you're not gifted anything. You got to come in and earn it.
Yep.
And he certainly has done that. But let's get into some of this Carolina Panthers offense here, Jimbo, because it's we got some stuff to talk about. This isn't the most flashy. This isn't the most high-flying offense. But let me tell you, Jimbo, they are physical. They commit to the run. They commit to the run in all 4 quarters. This isn't a team that's going to easily be taken out of their run script and and go into a pass happy scheme. No, they want to pound the ball. So right now in the season, they're averaging 20 points, 20.4 points on the season. So that's not great. I don't have to tell you that. Third down efficiency, Jimbo. I always like to look at the efficiency. I think it tells a big story. Third down efficiency on the season, Jimbo, 28%. That's so bad. Like that
So
is
bad.
incredibly poor in today's NFL to be at 28%. They've converted, Jimbo, on 34 of their 120 third down attempts.
Jeez whiz. You know what
I mean, that's bad.
Are the you know what? Are the Broncos worse than that?
I don't know.
Anyway, either way, when you're talking about the Broncos and you're competing with them, that's a
Just
problem.
as a reference, the Ravens 45%.
Yeah.
Carolina 28. Like that's a massive, massive difference between the two. So they don't convert well. Passing, let's see, they average 176 net passing yards per game. So that's not very impressive. 9 passing touchdowns on the season, 8 interceptions. So only a +1 ratio in interception to touchdowns or touchdown to interception. They've allowed 22 sacks on their quarterback this season, which also not good. Rushing yards. This is where you see, this is their bright spot. They currently average 4.7 yards per carry as a team. They average 118 per game as a team on the ground, and they have 10 rushing touchdowns so far on the season. And the guy who's really the big story in the backfield, because early in the season, of course, it was the Christian McCaffrey show. He was the guy getting the bulk of the carries. He had multiple 100+ yard games. But in the short time since Donta Foreman has taken over the full role, if anybody remembers Donta Foreman, I believe he was in Tennessee in his early parts of his career, backing up Derrick Henry, and now he's here. But already he's taken over as the lead block for 4 games. In 3 of those games, Jimbo, he's gone over 100 yards. He's got 118 in his first game, 118 in his second game, and 130 in his last game as the full-time ball carrier. So the guy can absolutely run the ball. He's physical. He's tough. He's got the speed. I mean, he's a good player. So you got to watch out for him. But Jimbo, who's starting at quarterback this week?
Oh, it's my buddy Baker Mayfield. I loved that. He talked about Lamar's mom, and he
that's ballsy.
Yeah, and he certainly was too arrogant to go work out with Lamar Jackson, because that's really what it came down to, right? Like
he said, he was intimidated by his mom, and that's why he didn't want to work out with him.
Right. Say whatever you want. He was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm Baker Mayfield," but we see how that's worked out for him. At the end of the day, my favorite part about it, you see when Lamar was asked, and his initial reaction was like,
I had no idea.
Well, I thought it was funny. You saw the look, and he's like, "What is that about my mom?"
Oh, like, you don't talk about his mom.
And then I think it was Jamison Hensley had to clarify.
Jump in.
He's like, whoa, there's more context than what you've just been given. Let's clarify real quick, because you don't just talk about someone's mom and then don't give them all the context.
No,
so I thought that was pretty funny.
Not.
But Baker has not been
someone
playing
as close as they are.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
yeah.
So Baker hasn't been playing great. If I'm not mistaken, he
hasn't been playing much lately.
Yeah, but he's got on the season 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Nothing spectacular. I think the unfortunate thing is that he's not overwhelming. He doesn't have an overwhelming number of brain cells, and he's now got less because he was headbutting people without helmets on. So I don't know how well Baker's going to do this week, but it's going to be interesting to see. My question to you about Baker, Glenn, is does he have any sort of advantage being familiar with the Ravens?
Well, it is I don't know how much overlap. I know there's some overlap on the defensive scheme between what McDonald's running this year and what Winks ran in the last couple. But I got to imagine there's enough change to where it's like when they asked McDonald if they went back and looked at any of Baker's tape from back when he was in Cleveland, and they said, well, it's such a different scheme that we've mainly focused on what he's been doing since he's joined the Panthers. I think the same. I think they'll mainly focus on what the Ravens are calling this year. But from a personnel standpoint, Jimbo, I think that's where Baker has some bit of an advantage over those who've never played the Ravens, and that he knows the defensive personnel, he knows the individual players, and he likely knows some of their weaknesses since he's studied them so many times over his short career. But I mean, Jim, he was the leader. He was the starting quarterback for the first 5 weeks. PJ Walker takes over at quarterback for a few weeks, and anytime you can't handily win the quarterback job when Sam Darnold and PJ Walker are in the same room as you, I mean, that's just all you need to hear about, kind of where Baker Mayfield is in his career. Definitely struggling. But on the outside, Jimbo, I want to talk because he's got talent on the outside, man. Yeah. DJ Moore, of course, he's a Terp. Love DJ Moore. Loved him when he was a Terp. Wish the Ravens would have got him. Ultimately, he goes to the Panthers, and he's been a stud. I mean, this guy is one of the best receivers in football. Certainly got to watch him when it comes to yak. He's always been fantastic with the ball in his hands. He can run every route. They like to get him the ball quick. A lot of quick screens, a lot of RPOs. If the quarterback doesn't like what he's seeing in the box, he will throw the quick screen to DJ Moore. Also on the outside, Laviska Shenault just had a big touchdown last week, a long one. He'll give you problems. Terrace Marshall Jr., the LSU receiver that Ravens fans were hoping would make, be a Raven. A little bit of a slow start, but certainly picking it up now.
And we had his wide receiver coach on, if you remember, talking about how he should have been a first-round pick.
Absolutely. The guy's got the talent. He just hasn't quite put it all together just yet, but he's certainly a talented guy. But DJ Moore's the guy to look for. 77 targets so far. He's got 39 catches, 3 touchdowns, nearly 500 yards. But on the outside, it's really just DJ Moore, Laviska Shenault, and Terrace Marshall Jr. Tommy Tremble, the tight end. I actually like Tommy Tremble, that tight end, coming out because he's super physical, but more of a blocker than anything else. But it looks like to me, Jimbo, and correct me if I'm wrong or jump in, but it looks like it's the Dante Foreman show. Maybe if Hubbard's healthy, maybe we'll see a sprinkling of Hubbard, but definitely Foreman is the lead back. And then they're going to hope that Baker Mayfield doesn't make too many mistakes.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And if you look at it on the other side, I think defensively for the Ravens, you talked about mistakes. I think, we could talk about keys, but at the end of the day, I think our defense has continued to improve. Do you know what our ranking is in the pass game right now, by chance?
Ours?
Yeah.
I can look it up.
So, I mean, I feel like
ESPN shows the numbers, but they don't show the rank.
They don't show the rank. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so I feel like every week we've made progress in the passing game, and the defense as a whole has started to play more complete games. I think that's the exciting thing. I parse up football in 2 ways: what I see on the screen, what my eyes see, and then what the statistics tell me. And one of the things I think that's cool that I've noticed with my eyes, that a trend that I think is really important for the Ravens, is that they're starting to make the big play or the big stop when that moment is necessary. Whatever game it is, however, close you are, this is a game the Ravens should win. There will still be moments on defense when the big play has to be had. Even if it's early in the game, let's get out early on a three and out, and then turn around and put our foot on their necks early, right? Like and so those things are starting to happen for the Ravens. Obviously the pass rush has been playing so well. You talked about it before. And I'm excited to see what Marcus Peters does in this game. I feel like since our last game, really, he's been getting a lot of heat. People in Baltimore have been kind of bummed out about him. They feel like he maybe doesn't have it like he used to, and he's still kind of chirping. It sounds like some people he's starting to fall from grace. Some people here.
Some people,
yeah. Certainly not me. I don't know if it's the case for you. I still trust Marcus Peters, and believe in what he can do and what he does. I think he's a rare talent. And I'm not willing to give up on him, but I'm excited for the defense. I think this is an awesome opportunity for them to really get some wind in their sails and start to really solidify themselves as a dominant defense. I'm just curious, do you have that ranking?
Yeah, they are 27th in passing yards.
Oh, weren't we at 1.23rd?
Maybe early in the season. Maybe. I'd have to look. I mean, we had some pretty
rough ones.
Well, even last week wasn't. It was just such a dominant performance on the ground that wasn't a ton to be had through the air. But yeah, I mean, I think the Ravens defense should be. I mean, they should look at this matchup and go, I mean, this is perfect for us. I mean,
what's Shaq say?
Barbecue chicken,
dude. This better be barbecue chicken, right?
I mean, when you look at, they bring in Roquan Smith, they've already been dominant in the front seven. The pass rush is hitting it at all-time high. They're getting healthier and better on the back end. It's really just, I don't know how, excuse me, I don't know how specifically, the whole offensive line, I don't know how they get enough movement against our D-line.
Right.
I don't think that they have, while they have some good players, was it Ekwonu? Is the tackle Ikem Ekwonu, who was one of the top tackles taken in the first round this year. He's a good player, but he just doesn't have the play strength yet. He's still a relatively wiry guy for a left tackle, but he's extremely athletic and he's got a bright future. But Bradley Bozeman, he's just not good. He's just not a good player, Jimbo. I mean, we loved Bradley when he was here because he was great first of all, he was healthy. He was great in the community, great in the locker room. But the difference between Bradley Bozeman and Tyler Linderbaum is a freaking football field of talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
A football field, bro.
Now, I got to ask you this, though, Glenn. Does it mean anything? Is it does he do anything to help his defense when it comes to stopping the Ravens' rushing attack? Because he so intimately knows how the line works, right? Up front, he knows what's going to happen. Do you think that helps them in a way that moves the needle at all? Will it be significant?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what's interesting when you know someone that well is, can they use that knowledge against you? That's always the way the balance you have to strike, because they know them well. So if they know, and I know that it's that game you got to play.
Yeah.
What I will say, Greg Roman mentioned last time we saw the Ravens against the Saints, they ran 35 different run plays in that game. 35 different run plays. The week before, they ran 20 different run plays. So even if you know the scheme,
right,
what the hell is Bradley going to tell them that's going to prepare them for a possibility of 35 different run plays hitting them in the mouth? I mean, there might be some things he can tell them, but man, I got to imagine that sometimes knowledge can almost work against you in the way that, you might be, I know when I was there, if I saw this, we were likely doing this, but then they could easily flip it and use it against you. So I don't know how much that really helps.
Yeah, I think the only thing that he can do is just give, what's the word? He can give ticks or tendencies of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably as far as you could go, right? Oh, Zeitler likes to do this, or
man, Powers really used to struggle in this scenario. He was back
exactly.
a lot. Yeah.
Right. I think that's about
personal, just like Baker. He can pick up personal tendencies and player weaknesses, but not as far as scheme. I'm not sure how much he'll actually help. But yeah, that offensive line should not be able to get very much movement against this Ravens defense. So yeah, heavy advantage leaning towards the Ravens defense versus this offense, but never know any given Sunday. But yeah, so you ready to start talking about their defense?
Yeah, let's do it really quickly though. Doug Cruson says, "Gents, will you be at the game this weekend? I'm coming into town from Charlotte, North Carolina. Who love to meet up if you are." I think he meant would love to meet up if you are. Yeah. But Doug, we are unfortunately not. I'm actually in California visiting my in-laws for the Thanksgiving holiday, and unless Glenn, unbeknownst to me, you're going to the game.
Nah, unfortunately not.
Yeah, sorry, Doug. But one day, I don't know when, we will have a 410 Sports Talk get together. One day.
Yes, absolutely.
You have my word. I've said it here. Write it down somewhere. Don C, you can be sure of that. We appreciate your nice comments and your support for the show as always, as well as all you guys. So we will absolutely do that one day. But yeah, Glenn. So enjoy the game, Doug. Take some pictures and add us on Twitter or Instagram or whatever.
But make sure you're prepared in what you're wearing. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. And if you haven't been, at the bank, stand on that concrete. It'll just suck the warmth right out of your feet. So
remember that week 17 Steelers game?
Raining. We were not prepared.
It was raining in 37 degrees or something.
Yeah, buddy.
Really and quickly, can I just say this? How bad is Najee Harris?
Getting benched for a guy who's undrafted?
Did I say that or did I say that?
I got to give you credit, man. You called it. I'm still not ready to buy. I'm still not ready to bail on him. But damn, if you weren't the only person who said you weren't worried about Najee Harris. Oh. But in fairness, you did say you weren't worried about Najee because of how shitty their offensive line is.
Well, anyway, that's true.
And that's true. And that is very true. It is hot garbage. And by the way, that quarterback, he's still.
Isn't it so fun to watch the Steelers suffer? Like, it is just
he's
so
bad.
fun.
He is so bad. Yeah, he is just. Oh, my man. Doug says he is a Maryland native. All right, cool. So you're prepared. I saw you're coming from the South. I'm just making sure that you're good. You know what I mean?
And I'll tell you what, dude, if we ever got to go to a game out of town, Charlotte's a dope city. Pinky's, shout out to Pinky's, Doug, if you haven't been there. The white trash burger. Dude, before my meatless days, the white trash burger was fire.
Well, look, that'd be a short plane trip for your boy, too.
That's right, dude. Might have to go to Charlotte sometime. $49 plane ticket from BWI right to Charlotte.
Yeah, buddy. But shout out to Doug. That's awesome. Laura says, right before we get into this defense, Laura says, I think Drake deserves a spot in the running back room. Is there a space with Gus and JK? Thoughts? I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake has been an absolute lifesaver and godsend for this team. And I'll admit, there was times in the beginning when he first got here that I was skeptical on what he had left in the tank, but it was clear that he just needed to learn the offense and get more comfortable, because ever since then, without him, I don't know where this run attack would be. I mean, I love what I've seen from Justice Hill, but I mean, Jimmy, could the Ravens have done this without Kenyon Drake?
Yeah, there's no shot. I mean, he's been the absolute piece that we needed to get through these valleys, right? Like, to get through these moments where our guys are not healthy. So yeah, Laura, I mean, when JK and Gus come back, you better believe that third fiddle is Drake. And third fiddle in this Ravens offense as a running back is not a bad place to be.
You're looking at 500 yards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just wake up, roll out of bed, get five. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just so I agree 100%. But yeah, let's get into their defense, because Glenn, I think ultimately they got some dogs. They got some guys on the inside, the outside, the front end, the back end of that defense. I mean, if you guys remember, what was it? I think it was 2 years ago. They had 9 draft picks and they took 9 defensive players.
Yep.
Certainly Matt Rule in that front office, which, you know, is that regime is no longer there, but they had a commitment to drafting guys up or drafting defensive players, and they took a lot of high picks on that defense. All that being said, they've got talent there. So yeah, Glenn, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's start talking about it. So the defense has got like Jimmy said, a bunch of high-end draft picks on this team. And, you know, with high-end draft picks, you come a lot of talent. You know, these guys are good. You look at, you know, Derek Brown, the defensive tackle in the interior of that defensive line. He was the 7th overall pick, I believe. My memory serves me properly, just a few years ago. Absolute stud, big, strong, athletic, can stuff the run. He's a monster. No doubt about that. Let's see. Let's go into Brian Burns. Let me tell you how good Brian Burns is, Jimbo.
Dude, didn't they turn down 2 firsts?
2 1s and a 2. That's how much they believe in Brian Burns. And I mean, look, the guy's he's been phenomenal. I mean, he's got let's see, where's the sack totals? He's got 7 sacks on the season so far. He's got 10 tackles for loss. He's got, by the way, on those 7 sacks, negative 43 yards, which, you know, is nothing to sneeze at either. He has a pass breakup. The guy is just a speed rushing problem for people. He's just he just presents a ton of problems on the outside. So got to watch out for him. Also in the front 7, Yetur Gross-Matos, Penn State. He was a round 2 pick just last year. And this is a guy that we studied a lot coming out. Doesn't have a ton of sacks right now, but again, another talented top draft pick that they had on their team. Let me see here. Who else do they got that I wanted to point out?
And look, it's fair to say, like, our tackles have been playing really well, but Ronnie is still look, I think Ronnie's back. All that said, like, still recent enough memory to know that, you know, I don't know if he's 100% yet, right? Like, that's fair to say. He's still on his journey to recovery. And Morgan has had moments.
Yeah. Right now he's
been playing well.
Yeah, he has. But Derek Burns is a guy. Brian Burns is a guy who, I don't care if you're good or not. Right. Sometimes he can just beat you. Yeah. So he's a prop. Shaq Thompson, also a linebacker for them. He's a super talented player. They got J.C. Horn, son of former NFL wide receiver Joe Horn. He was a top draft pick at the cornerback position. Xavier Woods is playing safety for them. If you've been around a while, you certainly heard that name. CJ Henderson was a former top pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars, if my memory serves me correctly. He's also a cornerback. He was the 9th overall pick by Jacksonville in 2020. So, I mean, there's just so many first and second round draft picks all over this defense. But as far as what they do as a team here, they're still, look, it's complementary football, Jimbo. So when you have a very poor offense, it also makes the defense look worse than it is. But as far as their numbers on the season, they've given up 24.3 yards per game. They've given up, efficiency wise, they give up third down conversions at a clip of 41.3%. So, that's I mean, it's not the worst. It's certainly not horrible. For a team that's got such a poor offense. Let me see. They give up 223 passing yards per game and 139 rushing yards per game, including 4-point yards per carry. So, this is a team that can get after you. They can rush the passer. They're physical, but at the same time, Jimbo, the Ravens offense have got to be looking at this like, if we just take care of our business,
right,
we know the defense is going to do their thing.
100%. And we'll get into our keys and our breakout players here in a second. But James Lee Wiley, don't want to leave you out there, says we are so fortunate to have Tuck. Green Bay kicker just missed extra points. Seeing a lot of missed field goals this weekend. Yeah, man.
Wow. Yeah.
Super fortunate to have Justin Tucker. I mean, there's no real way we can paint any other picture but that. Well, nothing bad to say about the man.
Yeah, and let me just go because I think you're 100% right. I'm glad you said that, James, because you reminded me to talk about their kicking situation, which isn't spectacular. If you guys remember, DJ Moore caught a Hail Mary as time was expiring to tie the game. All they needed was the extra point to win the game with no time on the clock. Now, DJ Moore did remove his helmet, causing them to have a 15-yard penalty. But Eddie Pinheiro missed the extra point. Then he missed a field goal in overtime, and ultimately they lost in overtime. So he on the season, he's 18 of 20 from field goal range. He's 16 of 18 on extra points. He average at best is what I would describe Eddie Pinheiro. So, yeah, huge advantage in special teams, massive advantage, defense versus offense. And while not as big of an advantage, still a big-time advantage offense versus their defense. I mean, every phase of the game, the Ravens seem to be better at, which I know would scare some bettors and say, wait a minute, is this one of those trap games that you talk about happen around the league? But, yeah, fortunate to have Tucker, no doubt about it.
Yeah, 100%. Now, let's talk about, Glenn, our keys here from a offensive perspective and our breakout players. I think it's important. We've kind of painted the picture of who they are from a defensive perspective. And then also I think what we'll do here is, because we kind of did things a little different, we'll give our keys offensive and then our breakout player, and then we'll go right to our keys defensive and our breakout player, because we kind of did both sides of the coin already. And so we'll give our keys on both sides as well. So my offensive key to the game is dominate the line of scrimmage. I said this at the beginning as we were prepping for the show. I think for the rest of the season, outside of Lamar Jackson, it is the offensive line show. We go as they go. I'm not going to sit here and say that we have the most star-studded wide receivers. Yeah, I think that we might have the best tight end group top to bottom in the NFL. And I would argue with anyone about that. I think that we have good backs and certainly great backs when they're all healthy. But really, and obviously spectacular quarterback. I mean, Lamar Jackson, I think, is getting disrespected in the MVP race. I think this game could really, catapult him back up there. But the offensive line is the tide of this offense, right? And so I think what it comes down to, we just talked about, and you articulated the guys that they have up front and the guys on this defense. If our offensive line can dominate this game is over early. So dominating on the offensive line is crucial in this game.
Yeah, you said it. You said it perfect. To me, my key is just get on them early. I don't want a team like this. If you get a lead early, it can sometimes kind of take the win out. Look, Carolina Panthers know they're not competing for a championship at 3-6 and having a revolving door at quarterback. They know they're not competing. So what you want to do is get them out of the game early, because if you let them stick around, I mean, they're all competitors. These are the greatest athletes in the world. They want to win. And if they see that light at the end of the tunnel because you've let them hang around a game, then, it'll certainly change how they play in the second half. So me, it's get on them early and let them know that they are the Carolina Panthers and these are the Baltimore Ravens. One team's competing for championships and the other's competing for top draft picks.
Right. 100%. I think that's a great point. Now, Glenn, tell me who your breakout player of the game is offensively. I think somebody might have stole your thunder.
Who's that?
Laura.
Did she? Oh yeah, earlier. That's right. Yeah, she did mention it. Yeah, mine's Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake, to me, is going to be super important in this game. I think he sits one, this week because it's a hamstring injury, and why they were so dominant on the ground. What was it, 188 yards on the ground last week? They're fine with Drake and Justice. So let's just go out there with those guys. And we saw when it was Drake and Justice, it was the Drake show, and that Justice was a complimentary figure to Drake while he also played his special teams roles and all that stuff. But it was Kenyon Drake, and I expect it to be that way this week. So he's my breakout player.
Yeah, I like it. Absolutely like it. And I'll say this. I was obviously I've been on the Duvernay bandwagon for a while. I'll pat myself on the back for that one as well. I'll take any pats on the back I can get. But at the end of the day, I was a bit disappointed by the fact that I think in the last game he only got one target.
Yeah.
For one catch, and it was Bate. That was the first time Bate was out, Mark was out, and everyone's talking about how concerned they are, and some people are like, really throwing this team away based on the fact that we don't have a big time pass catcher and stuff. And I thought it was going to be a perfect opportunity for Duvernay to go out there and put a stamp on that game and say, look, I'm here. Everything's okay. Now, he only got one target, so he can only done so much. Of course, his position is codependent on others. But I think this game he does a bit more. I know they have a good defense. I know they have some good corners. Certainly Horn is out there. But I'm going with Devin Duvernay to put his fingerprints all over this game and come out with a big one here.
Nice. Yeah, I hope you're right. I'd love to see more of Devin Duvernay as part of the game plan, like a big part of the game plan, and not just an ancillary little side piece
right.
of the game plan. I don't want to see that anymore.
Yeah, he's not a gadget guy. Like, can we make him a feature, please?
He's so much more than that. I agree with you. I would love to see the return of him in the backfield as well, especially if Gus isn't going to be out there. All right, so let's get into our defensive keys to the game. We talked about all the guys that they got offensively and how they're not the most formidable offensive group, but they still have some guys. DJ Moore, Dante Foreman, Laviska Shenault. They still got some guys. So my key to the game is simply stop Dante Foreman. If you stop him, you stop them. I mean, it is what it is. I think Baker Mayfield will come out of this game hyped. He'll come out with a little extra juice. He does got some decent weapons, but at the end of the day, he's still Baker Mayfield. And this is still a defense that's really, really hitting on all cylinders right now. So to me, stop Dante Foreman, you stop the Panthers.
Yeah, I like it. So mine's going to be really simple. You guys have all seen the clip of the first time, I think it was, right? That was their first matchup with Lamar and Baker, both as the full-time starters. And Baker said, of course, to the team, hey, let's make this guy throw and we win, right? So mine's simple. Make Baker Mayfield have to beat you. And it really goes hand in hand with what you're saying. If we can stop the run, then it's all in Baker Mayfield's hands. And this game is in the bag. Hook, line, and sinker overdone. I have no concerns. So make Baker Mayfield do his best impersonation of a Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson. Or just be Russell Wilson from the Broncos. Right? So I think that that's really what it comes down to. Baker Mayfield making him the guy that beats us, not letting missed tackles, broken plays, inability to stop the run be the reason, penalties, things like that be the reason that they're in that game. But leave it up to Baker. And I'll tell you this, my breakout player of this game, speaking of Baker Mayfield and him having to beat us, is going to be Kyle Hamilton. I think Kyle Hamilton got close on our previous game where there was a stupid holding penalty. I think he gets an interception in this game, first of his career. I'm going with Kyle Hamilton. I've just been feeling like people have been really hard on him. He's finally turning the corner, and I don't think he's looking back. I think Kyle Hamilton really puts on another demonstration of progress. I think he gets his hands on football.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this guy is getting better each week, man. I'm excited to see what he's going to be at the end of the season because, man, he could be a huge chess piece for Mike McDonald now that he's starting to kind of figure things out. My breakout player is Justin Houston. I mean,
Fair.
How can
Fair.
I pick anyone else after what he's done these last 3 games, Jimbo? He's coming
Right.
off Defensive Player of the Week the last time we saw him. He had two picks. I'm sorry, 2 sacks and a pick. I mean, the guy has just he's turned back the clock, and I don't see why it's going to stop. Not with the way they're using him, not with the depth they've been able to build on the outside linebacker room, and now it's only going to get stronger. JPP's back. Bowser's got, he's back and has another full 2 weeks under his belt as far as getting a bit more acclimated. And then Ajabo, we might see Ajabo this weekend. I'd be surprised. But we certainly know he's in the plans in the very near future. So Houston is going to be my breakout player. I think he gets another sack. All right, let's get into our most exciting portion of the show, Jimbo.
Here it is.
Our show competition. So those of you who have been with us all along, you know how it works. But those of you who are new, we have a show competition each week, has a series of over-unders that we compete against one another with, as well as we ask that you guys send us direct messages or comment in the video below once the live is over. Give us your predictions, and then every week we announce the show winner and fan winner. If you're a fan winner, go ahead, Jimbo.
No, I was going to say, and look, the competition is absolute blast, and the really cool thing is we get to put this competition on and get to give you guys swag because we have an awesome sponsor and the support of you guys in Prize Picks. It's really easy. Check out Prize Picks. If you want to support the show, just download the app and put in the promo code 410. Make some easy money this weekend, right, Glenn?
Mm-hmm.
All I got to say is take the over on Lamar and the under on Baker, and you're good. You're just good. You're going to triple your money. That's how I'm tripling my money this week. Really no thinking involved. So check it out. You get your first deposit matched up to $100 for putting in the promo code that includes 3 numbers, 4, 1, and 0. And, it's a great way for you to support the show. So, Glenn, why don't you get us started on this? We'll bang this out, and we'll let all you folks have a great evening.
That's right. Watch this the rest of this game. So
that's right.
The first over-under question of the day. Let me pull up the banners here.
Cool.
Shout out to DK, by the way, for getting all this set up for us, even though he's not able to.
He realizes that we are children, so we need help.
Absolutely. So, all right, here's the first over-under. Jimbo, Ravens tight end receiving yards. So the group of tight ends, will they go over or will they stay under 75.5 yards?
Yeah, I'm going under on this one because I think Mark sits. I think Mark sits out this game. And so I think while Likely is going to have himself a game and Oliver will have an impactful game, I think that Mark gets the lion's share of it and he's not going to be there.
All right, I think Mark does play this weekend, and you know what? I think it's one of those things where I'm like 55-45. I could see it obviously going either way. I don't like that they had him available for media because it seems like every time they have a guy who might play or might not play, if they have him available, then he sits and they play the next week. Mm-hmm. But he talked about how it's been killing him. It's been killing him watching his teammates out there, and I think because of that, he urges the coaching staff to let him go. So I think he plays, and I think they go over 75.5. I think Likely has a couple catches. Your guy Oliver has a couple catches, and of course Mark Andrew has more than a couple. So they go over 75 yards is my prediction.
That's really what it comes down to. If he's there, it's over.
Yep,
it's just
that's as simple as it is right there. All right, next one: Ravens running back or fullback carry total 25.5 carries. Jimbo, will they have more or less?
Yeah, more. This is an easy one for me. I mean, I think we're gonna stick to the ground game. Why do anything different? I don't think they can stop it. And we'll beat him that way. So I say over.
Wow, you don't think Greg Roman's going to outsmart himself and come out with a 30 pass script to 9 rushes?
Nah, I think we're good. I think he's over those days.
Okay, I hope you're right. I agree. I say over as well. But man, I would not be at all I'd be furious, but not at all shocked to see these damn Ravens come out and throw the ball 28 times in the first half.
Seriously.
And if there's no success, to revert right back to that run attack in the second half, kind of like we saw a couple weeks ago. But, I'm going to say over as well. I agree. All right, next one. Over under Panthers sack yards lost. So how many yards will the quarterbacks for the Panthers lose when they're being sacked by the Ravens? So he sets it at 14.5. Over under, Jimbo.
Yeah, I'm going over here because Baker's gonna run all over the place in the backfield and try and do something dumb. And it's just
He's not going to try to do something dumb. He will do something dumb. He tries to do something great.
He's going to try and do something cool. It ended up being dumb, and then he'll get sacked. So this will be over. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Over as well. I can see him running around. Which, by the way, he looks so tiny when he runs around.
He's got these short little paces, doesn't he?
He's like a slower Kyler Murray when he's running around the backfield. Just
slower.
Yeah, just much slower. But I think he's a little bigger than Kyler. But yeah, I say over 14.5 as well. All right, next one. Over under Panthers turnovers. Will they have more or less than 2.5 turnovers, Jimbo?
I'm going right under. I'm going to say 2. 2 turnovers. Which doesn't mean the Ravens aren't going to be dominant. I think 2 turnovers is a lot. So I'm going to go under 2 is what we get.
Under and 2. Man, I have so many that are overlapping. I so badly want to switch my answer to over just because you and DK. You know what? I'm going to do it. Over. I'm going to say they get 3 turnovers, Jimbo. I'm going to say they get 3.
I just won.
No. I don't think so, Jimbo. I say over. I think they get a strip sack on Baker. And, of course, I think he throws it to the other team a couple times. All right, so the first tiebreaker, total score, over under 41 points, Jimbo.
Yeah, so I'm going right under. I'm going with 40 points. I think it's 30-10. Ravens beat the bricks off the Panthers. And I'm going to say this. Their touchdown is going to be late. It's going to be 33. And then they get a late touchdown, a late cheap one. So I'd say the Ravens beat the bricks out of them. But I'm going under at 40 points.
Wow. Okay. Well, I will say over. I think the Ravens win 31-13, so eclipsing that 41 total. But I agree with you, Jimbo. I think this is a dominant win. I think the team will, they're always benefited coming off of a bye. And I don't think that this coaching staff and this veteran, there's a lot of veterans in this room. I don't see them allowing them to have a mental lapse and have what is called those trap games and slip up. I don't see it happening. I think they dominate them from start to finish, 31-13. All right. Last tiebreaker, the ultimate tiebreaker is the total yards. We want to get closest to the pin in an event of a tie elsewhere, which it has come down to this on a couple occasions. So, Jimbo, how many yards are the Ravens going for?
Yeah, I think the Ravens go right under 400. I think they're at 395. I think that they still end up with a high-scoring game because I think maybe the defense scores a touchdown or puts them in some favorable positions where they have short fields. So I'm going with 395 Baltimore Ravens offensive yards.
All right, I'm going to go 388. I'm going to go 388. I'm going to go. I'm the low end of the total here. But the reason I say low end is because it's those turnovers, man. I think the Ravens are going to have some short fields. So I don't think it's a lack of success. I think it's just a lack of opportunity and not a ton of yards when you're getting the ball in plus territory. So 388 is my total. But guys, if you want to participate, make sure you wait to this video to be over and comment on the comments below or direct message us at any of the social medias you see above my head and enter yourself in the competition. We will read the winner in the post-game show, and then you simply message us again with your shirt size and address, and voila, one shows up right at your door just in time for the holidays. So make sure you participate. It's super fun. And this has been a blast. I'm glad we're back. I tell you, it was too long, Jimbo. Too long.
Yeah.
And really, I wish we would have done that show we put out on Tuesday in hindsight as a live because it's got so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And I wish we had a little bit more interaction. But if you guys haven't seen it, check out our last video we put out on Tuesday when we talked about how the Ravens offense is now the trendy offense that all others are starting to steal and copy and imitate around the league. It's so funny. When the Ravens are going this way, everyone else is going that way. All of a sudden, people are starting to hit that roundabout and come right around to that run game, ain't they, Jimbo?
Yep, absolutely. It's like a big school of fish, just going the absolute other way, just about facing and going the other way.
Right.
So, yeah, it's been an absolute blast. And like Glenn said, the video is a lot of fun for us. It's very insightful, so go check it out. All you guys, thanks for coming out tonight. Lisa Ann, Baltimore, Don C., of course. You're the man, Don, as well as all the other folks that have joined. Tanja Bowman, James Lee Wiley, Nana Rave. Let's see who else we got in here. Adam 78. I hope did we get to
in here?
Doug Cruzen. But did we get to Asmodeus the Notice put up a super chat at the very beginning?
Oh, we did.
Yeah. Shout out to Asmodeus Stenotis for the cranberry sauce for your turkey.
Yeah.
Thank you. Much
The
appreciated.
Gobblers are back at Wawa. If you're in Maryland, hit up the Wawa. Get yourself a gobbler.
What's a gobbler?
It's a delicious bowl with turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy and corn and cranberry sauce, whatever you want.
So it's like a Thanksgiving shepherd's pie.
Yep, Thanksgiving in a bowl, and it's
There you
heavenly.
go.
It's absolutely heavenly. But yeah, shout out to Asmodeus. Appreciate the cranberry money.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. Can't wait to see this game on Sunday, and we'll talk then.
Have a good one.